Welcome, everyone. Today at XR for Europe, in partnership with Realities in Transition, we will have a conversation about immersive theater with Ilaria Nina Zedda and Margherita Landi here with me. So they have both been working in immersive theater and they have explored the relationship between theatrical language and technology. I would like to ask the two panelists to introduce themselves briefly and their research first. Then we will dive deeper with a conversation between the panelists. If you have some questions, you can type them in the chat. We will try to address them during our conversation. So, Nina Zedda, can you introduce yourself about your work at Kyber Teatro and your research?
Yes. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for inviting me here. It's a pleasure to me to be part of this discussion. Sorry if my English it is not perfect. If I have some difficulty with the language, I will ask help to my colleague Laura Brazzi and Simone Murtas that are here with us. I'm Nina Zedda. I am artistic director of Kyber Teatro, is a theater and new technology company that is based in Cagliari, Sardinia. Our company started in 2010 to experiment and produce theater and new technology show, also combined with the other discipline, music, science, science fiction, gender theater, and for young audience. We work in the theatrical space called Domos, acronym of House of Culture in Cagliari, which is a space suitable for production, research, and that hosts international artistic technological residencies. Since 2014, we are the organizer. We have organized the International Festival of Theater, Art, and New Technology, The Wonder of Possible, Le Meraviglie del Possibile, that is now at 11th edition, a national and international platform that reference in the field of technologically oriented theater and hosting a show, performance, and by emerging artists and established company, and other kind of program like workshop conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. Then I would like Margherita Landi to introduce herself and her research.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here and for inviting me to this event. I am Margherita Landi. I'm a dancer and a choreographer, but since last years I started to work with technology. Actually, they were almost in my life since a long time, but in this last year I really focused my research on AR and VR. So I'm mixing it with dance, and I'm using it as a tool to generate movement and as choreographic tool also for educational purpose or for artistic practice. And so I generally do performances that involve the headset as a mask on stage, and you generally see dancers dancing with the headset on, but some performances are more inclusive, and in some performances the audience has to put the headset on and dance. So this is part of my practice, how to transmit movement using virtual reality.
Amazing, Margherita. And about that, let's start a conversation. Let's talk about immersive theater and how to use new technologies with immersive theater, performance, dance, and how to best integrate that. Because both of you have done that in your research. So, Margherita, what initially inspired you to incorporate immersive technologies into your performance in art? What was the initial idea?
The initial idea was I used to research a lot around the idea of perception and how the change of perception is changing the movement, and how the emotional engagement again is changing perception, or perception is changing the emotional engagement, and how the movement change consequentially. So I started to use technology to amplify this kind of perceptions and to direct some kind of perception of the body or some concept of the body. And so it was something that really took me completely, and was very natural. Actually, it was not something that I felt outside of the body, but something that was really a consecutive act of dancing.
Okay, interesting. And Nina, how do you approach the audience with digital performances? Like, is there a shock to overcome? Is the audience ready to welcome new technologies on stage? How do you help them also to accept the technologies that are on stage?
Yes, we presented two different kind of interactive performances. In the first one, the audience is a part of the performance. In the second one, the actors interact in real time with the new technologies. In the first proposal, the audience is called to interact directly with the scene through device, contributing to the development of the story. Their use displays the audience when they are integrated into the dramaturgical construction. So we believe that the most important thing in our practice is to use interactive technologies to give the audience the opportunity to actively change the plot. For example, through the use different devices, the audience can discover a secret or solve a mystery, and this method increase the audience engagement with the show. The second interactive method, it's the actor directly interact on stage with the new technologies. The live element contributes to raising the level of presence and iket nunc and now and here and now, both in the actor and the audience. And yes, the audience in the theater always has an active role and not a passive one like in cinema. And the actors, when they play on stage, know it well. Now, neuroscience studies on mirror neurons proved what happens in the spectators during the show. So for us, it's important to make them forget the technological elements so that we maintain a sort of magic typical of theater.
Very interesting. And similar question, Margherita. So, because I think like because it's something that is very new, using new technologies like XR on with performance. How do you balance the use of technology with traditional element of performance? How did you experiment? Maybe with trial and error. Like, how did you do it?
Okay, yes, I started from the idea of how to stimulate the movement, and also how to guide it, and to create an imaginary situation for the dancer. So the headset was the perfect tool, and what I do is to include the tool in the process. So as also Nina was saying, in the end, it is completely part of the meaning of the performance. It becomes invisible. It becomes a mask. So it is part of the performance entirely. I would like to show you a video just to let you understand how it works. So, as you can see, in this first performance, I was putting the headset on the dancers first, but then inviting two people from the audience to put the headset on too. So they have to follow the same choreographic score that the dancer were doing before. So then it is really a transmission of the movement. And as you can see in the second project, I include the headset into a kind of choreographic delivery. So I was delivering the headset far from Florence, where I live, to other dancers living far, like in Rome or abroad. And they had to follow my choreographic instruction from far. This other performance is a performance for the audience. So it's about hugs, and they have to follow this video in which people are hugging, and they have to copy the gesture that resonate with their sensitivity, with their memory about hug, and copy the gesture. So they start to dance with the headset on. So from outside, we see people, we have this sense of isolation, like they are isolated. But inside the headset, they feel hugged by other people. This other project, the Landis Cube, is a process of choreographic direction for dancers, in which I invented a way to notate the movement. So it's a 3D notation system for movement, inspired by the Laban's Cube, the Rubik's Cube, and the game of Twister. And I can direct in real time dancers on stage using different practices. And this is just the technical part, but I arrived to this idea of trio, and I developed a performance that has the theme that I call Tremenda Presenza, because it is inspired by the idea of invisible. So we don't see what the dancers are watching. We have to guess what we see, and we have to guess how they feel inside of this experience. But we guess that they can move a third body, and in this interaction, the idea of invisibility and invisibility gets very complicated, because then you start to wonder who is the blind in this situation. And so this is the way I proceed. Like I use the headset to stimulate some ideas about also technology itself, about the use of technology, if it's something that isolates us or connect us, but also questioning the position of the audience.
Interesting. And Nina, about that, you were saying that because of technologies, you make the audience active more than in usual traditional theater. So can you share an example of a show performance where audience interaction was significantly enhanced by technology?
Yes. In the technological artists residence art augmented reality theater experience realized with the French company Vous êtes ici à l'heure of Mathieu Tercier and the Meanwhile Theater from Lebanon, we create a performance, Fear Eats the Soul, that combined different new interactive technologies for involvement of the audience. The theme is the fear given by the social and political control and forced physical distancing. The performance was presented in our International Festival of Theatre Le Meraviglie del Possibile, The Wonders of Possible, in Cagliari in 2018. And we brought on stage emotion and topics that we all lived 2 years later during the COVID pandemic. Just an example, in a foyer, a checkpoint was set up. The audience had to show their ID cards to an actor policeman who spoke in English and Arabic. When we then use the lip motion and an interactive device that detects the position and the movement of hands and finger. The audience had to place their hands within the lip motion detection range, and the real-time 3D reconstruction appeared on a screen. Then the policeman asked them general questions similar to an interrogation. Based on their answer or hesitation, their interaction with the spectator hands would change in texture, color, or shape. The goal of the first scene was to put the audience in a state of crisis by immersing them in an atmosphere of fear and control stimulated them to reflect on the social and political control. During this performance, there were other interactive moods. The technology we used consists of capturing the individual position and movement of the audience on the stage in real time. Every individual action had a specific reaction, and then the interaction of these two elements was projected in the background. The use of different devices was functional and to the emotional involvement of the audience, and who had the different evident emotional reaction, and who felt part of the story.
Very interesting. And well, Margherita, so let's go deeper about new technologies and how to use them in immersive theater, because you were saying isolation, and you were saying also that at the same time makes the audience more engaged in the story. But how do you make sure that technology serves the story rather than overshadowing it, and it doesn't isolate completely the audience from the whole storyline?
This is a very important question, because I think it's the point of
Yeah.
and what I do is that I focus a lot on the meaning, on the meaning that I want to, of what I want to say using that technology. And sometimes it comes from the practice, because by watching dancers practicing, then suddenly I see that there is a specific meaning in that movement or in that gesture or in that object. But also I try to mix all the elements so that all the elements are absolutely needed. And I also like to use the technology at the minimum possible so that the body can speak more. So for instance, in the project about hugs, that is one of the most popular that I'm presenting now in this period, the theme was very clear, because we were talking about the touch starvation that we all lived during the lockdowns, and how can we train our body to be engaged with this practice again, how to trust. And so that was perfect to use virtual reality, because we didn't want to recreate a virtual hug, but the intent was to create the nostalgia of a real hug. So by using a virtual video, a VR video, a 360 video with real people hugging, and asking people to move without having a body to hug, then the sense of absence is so strong that when people get off the headset, they really want to hug a real body. And it happens often. They hug us a lot when we do it. So it is really practical. I really see the practice of the body and how that practice is enhancing a certain body state and a certain emotion. And I then try to focus all the project in that direction.
Very interesting. At the same time, well, this goes to both of you. Maybe let's go on with Margarita, and then I'll ask you, Nina, because I think this is something that could be interesting to both of you. Because, okay, you try your best to merge conceptually technology with performance, but then what are the main challenges you have faced when integrating immersive technology into your performance? Because sometimes it doesn't work out, or there are technical issues, or you test it on the audience and you see that it's not connecting as you would like to, that instead conceptually was a great idea. So what were the challenges for you?
For me, the challenge is to...
Even now, maybe, maybe in your recent projects.
Well, basically, my research is also about how the fruition of the videos is changing using VR, because we used to have a passive way of watching when we are sitting on a sofa and watching a film or a movie. we're just passive. But in 360 or in virtual reality, we have to move to watch. So it is an active fruition. And what I do is that I'm really pushing on this idea to activate the movement through the headset. But what happened is that most of the cultural operator or the festivals that invite me, sometimes they are concerned with the idea of seeing what is inside the headset. And because I never show it, because I want the body to narrate what's inside. This concerns a lot of people, because there is this idea of sharing the content and have a passive fruition of the content. So most of the time they ask me to project, but I think that the strong point of immersive realities is that it's immersive. So once I project it on a screen, it loses all its magic. While I think the experience is the most important part, and because of the mirror neurons, so I totally agree with Nina when she said it. When I see a body that is immersed inside a reality and moves because of it, my body also senses it. Even if I don't know what is watching, I really feel what that body is feeling. So this is my challenge at the moment, to kind of change the concept of video fruition and XR fruition.
Interesting. Well, that made me feel a question, but I want to ask Nina this first. So, Nina, about you, what are some of the main challenges you face when integrating immersive technologies in your performances?
Yes, in our case, we started in 2010, and at that time the technologies were more complex and had the physical limitation on the stage. In addition, it was very difficult to find materials, research, text or video online that could have deepened and nourish our work. For example, in Italy in this period, there was just an artist, Giacomo Verde, who worked on multimedia dramaturgy. A challenge that we hear very often from our colleagues is the lack of specialized figures related to artistic digital mediation. The difficulty between the artist and technological part is to speak a common language given by the knowledge of scenic languages. In our case, the technological director Marco Matteo, who works with the visual artist and computer scientist Simone Murtas, plays this role of technological mediator because he worked for 20 years in the theater field in technical direction, lighting design, and video editing, and then began to work using software and the device for the scene, integrating them in organic way with the traditional theater's elements. And another challenge was to find a suitable theater for place for research and experimentation. We needed a modular theater that had certain elements and that could involve the audience in a new way. In the traditional structure called Teatro all'Italiana, it is not always possible to work well with the projection or remove to all the seats or modify the stage. For this reason, in 2013, we created in Cagliari the Osh Domos Space Theater that allows us to work in the best way with all the new technologies and permits in the same time to host international shows that are made in an unconventional way and need an unconventional space. just another challenge was to propose in Cagliari in 2014 the first edition of the International Festival of Theatre Art and New Technology, The Wonder of Possible, because the first year we thought that the local audience wouldn't had any interesting in the project. The audience reacted very well to the festival, and this year we have reached the 11th edition with an average of 300 applications per year from international artists. Yes, the big challenge was to organize all in Cagliari, this festival, because creating this kind of program in Cagliari and not in Rome or Milan was more difficult and took away a lot of visibility, because Sardinia is an island, and therefore it is hard to connect with nation and international scene.
Mm-mm. I mean, yeah, it's interesting because I never thought about like the space, because when you think about a performance with some technicalities that need a certain kind of space, like in Italy we don't have that many spaces that allows to remove the seats, to rethink the space completely. Like you need a very flexible space in order to adapt your performance as much as possible, because you don't want to change the performance too much, but then you have to change it a little bit for the space, and it's very, very difficult. And that, of course, is a very big challenge for Italy mostly. But Margherita, going back to you. So I have a question that I thought about while you were saying before about the challenges. But one thing that I realized is, who is the audience then in your projects? Who is the audience? Because you were saying that festivals, they want to know what you are showcasing in the headset, but then the audience member are also watching the VR piece, but they become performing in a way, and the audience is people that are watching other members of the audience performing. So for you as an artist, who is the audience in your projects?
Everyone. No, but I think that there's different layers. So there's a performance inside the headset that is generating a performance outside the headset. So if you are brave enough, you will put on the headset yourself and you will perform for other people. I can show you a video of like this kind of projects that I made, because it's basically I use very simple gestures. Very simple gestures. So when you put on the headset, you find yourself in this beautiful villa with this beautiful garden. And I prepare the audience before, the audience who is putting on the headset before, to a simple movement practice. So you know how they will have to move inside the experience. It's just to help them to really be engaged with the movement. And then they simply copy the gesture that resonate with them. So if you didn't do the experience yet, when you see them, you don't know what they're doing, but it's fascinating because they're so concentrated and so moved, because sometimes people cry while they do it. So it's very emotional. And so the curiosity of trying, it rise, let's say, the curiosity. So then people ask to join the next group, and they do the experience. So they perform for the audience. When you did the performance, so you know that these kind of couples are inside the headset. As you see, there are many couples all around. So as you move, you see a different couple, and you can change and copy different gestures and different couples. So you create your own movement sequence, your sequence of movement. But if you did already the experience while you watch them, you recognize which couple they're copying, and you see how they are recreating maybe the same movement that attract that attracted you before in a totally different ways, because there's that it leaves a lot of freedom to the audience to copy and in their own way. And so it's very delicate. Yes, it's not a performance in which you will see people jumping and moving. It's something more subtle that touches more the emotions than the virtuosity. It's more about being concentrated. It is an internal journey,
Okay.
somatic journey. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it makes me think that yes, they're both audience, but they experience completely different ways of seeing the performance because they perceive it. It actually, there are three different experiences. If you watch it before,
Yes.
the performing with the headset on, performing with the headset on, and then watching it again without the headset, but seeing other people because you have a memory of it. So
Exactly.
you have three ways of performing and see the performance. That it's it's interesting.
And I do the same when I do performances with professional dancers, like the one with the notation system. Before I prefer that the audience don't know what's inside the headset, so they just see and try to imagine if they are watching landscapes or whatever. But then at the end of the performance, I always have a moment of experience of the headset, so the audience can come, try it on, and understand how it was working, and that change the perception of what they saw before. So then they can give another layer of meaning.
Very, very interesting. And Nina, I have a question for you that I was thinking about while you were saying about changing the theater and looking for places where you can bring your performance. So this is a question that I just thought about. How has the use of immersive technologies influenced your theatrical language and storytelling techniques? So how you made challenges actually push new ways of doing storytelling, and how you fought against limitations to instead create something new. Like, how do you do that?
I think that in the creative process, the new technology the new technology entry in the creative process. So in our practice, when we work all together from the first part of the work, because it's more important that the different dramaturgic line about scene, text, and the construction of characters, all the line of the dramaturgical work are very clear with the new technology.
Interesting. So there's a question from the public, so I would like to address it now. So the question is to both of you. You can decide who wants to answer first. So are there enough opportunities for live immersive performance at festivals and exhibitions in Europe? Festival organizers often express concerns about the number or size of audiences, requests for screen-based or non-immersed version, or about how much space is necessary audience in headsets. So how do you manage, I guess, to go to these live events and still manage to address all the requests also from festivals and the limitation they have? And do you think there are enough opportunities like where you can bring your performance without compromising too much of the technical aspects of it? Margherita.
Well, what I do is that I kind of impose my rules. So my rules are very I cannot screen it. I'm sorry. I really cannot screen it. But what I do is that I generally extend the time of the installations.
Yeah.
So, for instance, in the Peaceful Places, that is the project about hugs, what I do is that I take 10 or 20 people at a time, because I bring 10, 20 headsets. And what I do is that I go on for hours. So
Yeah.
as many people as they want can join. I can arrive up to 40 headset. I can manage
Yeah.
also many headset and big group of people. But I prefer to do more hours because then it's more intimate. But of course, we're not going to screen it. For the
Yeah.
performance, for the dancers' performance, when I do the version for professional dancers, I sell the performance. So
Yeah.
it's a performance. And connected to that, I offer the opportunity to do a workshop. And of course, as I said, I give the possibility to quickly try both the roles, the choreographer roles, so my roles or performer roles, right after the performance. And the day after, we can have a long workshop about the experience and about the
Yeah.
XR tool.
Interesting. And you, Nina, so do you feel there are enough opportunities to bring your performances also outside of Cagliari, or do you do your performances just there in Cagliari?
No, we search to go in a other festival. I think that for example, for our experience, there are many opportunity for the use of technology in installation or in dance, for example. But for the theater, I think that this language is not at the moment is not a real. Worked from the artist.
Yeah.
So I think that it's very difficult in Europe. In Italy, it's very difficult, but in all the parts in the Europe too, because there are 3 or 4 big festival of technology, of art and technology, but the part of theater and technology or performance technology is very short. So I think that is at the moment, and maybe, for example, it's a problem because if you can use certain technology, the audience that can participate is a little audience, and so 10 people, for example. And so I think that for theater is not good number for to do this show, or
Yeah.
or I think that the structure of theater is not prepared to host
Yeah.
this new show.
Because you really work in a theatrical space, so you need
Yeah.
it there.
Yes, but not only. But I think that it's a stupid thing. But just when you go in a theater, maybe you don't found the good connection of internet. And when you use 2 or 3 and when you connect with the stage, 2 or 3 software with device and so on, it's important that there is a good connection. And so I think that there are many problems connect with the space, for example.
Absolutely. Margaret, you want to say something? Yeah, go.
For me, it's easier because I have a very easy technical set. I mean, I just bring 10 headsets or 3 headsets for the dancers, but then the required space can be also a square, a public square or a garden. It can be everywhere. I don't need internet, so that part for me is much easier. And but I also noticed that because in my performance the technical part is very simple, that people do not buy the performance because of the technology. They buy it because of the meaning of the theme that is kind of helping us to tour around, and not the interest into the technology. And I actually like this thing a lot. I prefer it.
Well,
Yeah,
because you know that it's more for the concept and the meaning of it than just the technology itself. So it's beautiful, actually.
yes, yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're not interested in technology. Are interested in the meaning of the technology, or in the meaning of what technology can express, what kind of experience can offer you. And I think this is lovely. But it's difficult to start. I mean, now many festivals know me because they saw the first performance, so they trust the second one and they trust the third one. But it's something that I had to build, and it required time to have this trust.
Nina, you wanted to say something?
Yes, for us, for our experience, it's the same, Margherita, because during this 11 edition of festival, we saw that the audience is very is always more interested to the theme and to the story and to the that's in front of the use of the new technology. But for example, at the end of the show, usually we create a moment to interact between the artist and audience. And in this case, the audience starts to talk about the story, but finish always to ask about the new technology. And it's very interesting because they want to know which technology and how, and for example, wants to know the process, the creative process that combine these two lines.
Nice.
I mean, I've looked before doing this LinkedIn Live that both your research is very meaningful, and I like how both of you're doing a research with immersive technologies, but at the same time you approach it from very different angles. Margherita from a more analogic interaction, more human-like, performative, while Nina is very conceptual and very technical, and that's why maybe it's harder for you, Nina, to look for a space, while for you, Margherita, you have other difficulties. And it's interesting because during these conversations, I'm always happy to be the moderator, because I can see all these different sides of bringing art with immersive technologies in Europe, and how difficult it is from different ways, different aspects, different perceptions of the audience, of the festivals. It's very difficult, and at the same time I'm very glad that there are people like both of you that instead are insisting in doing art as you want in Europe, even if you don't see the reception from festivals or audience as you would like to, because maybe you're not prepared, as you were saying, Nina, or maybe sometimes because you see, Margherita, that the festival is it buys you and wants your performance, but it's not helping you maybe for other aspects. So it's interesting because I can see a lot of similarities and at the same time a lot of differences. So it was a very insightful conversation. And I have a last question for both of you. It's about the future. Oh no, there is actually another question from Ilaria, but I want to ask you this first. So what's next, Margherita? What are you working on right now? And are there any new technologies you're particularly excited to experiment in your upcoming performances? Or maybe you want instead to strip it back and have less technology and more performance? What's for you the future?
Well, the future is to go deeper into this research about XR. I think I'm totally fascinated about it. I can stop working with it, but I'm also curious to add a bit of AI because
Okay.
movement would be amazing, as to read the movement, to play with how the AI can read the movement and re-elaborate it. But I think I will stay on VR, of course.
Okay. And Nina, at Kiber Teatro, what are you exploring? What is next for your digital theaters?
The last show is a good game. Is a theater and video game show for young people, and we use the mockup suite to create a relationship between a gamer and her avatar in a video game. And so now we love to mix many different technology, and so we every show we combine different technology. So I think we work in the next work to combine mock-up with the hologauss, and with the XR2 different kind of technology. But yes, I think that we for the theater in a special way we need to create a new language, but with the new technology. But this problem has always existed in theater.
Yeah.
So we think that we believe that the point is not to focus more on virtual immersion or interaction, but to find out how we can use these technologies to ask questions in order to revitalize the scene and the relationship with the audience.
Yeah. So the question from the public that we just received is, what is the situation outside of Europe? Have you got any contacts, opportunities, for example, in the US or Asia, Australia, or are you focusing mostly on distributing your projects in Europe? Both of you.
Well, I won the Oggy Award in California, but I didn't have the chance to go there. So
No.
my brother took the award for me because he was there, because he's in the same field, but in totally different context. But he was there, so he took the award for me. But I was in touch with Augmented World Expo, but I never had the chance to go there, and it's quite difficult to really be in touch with some context there. So now I'm focusing more on extending in Europe a network, enlarging the network here, and so I didn't explore it so much.
What about you, Nina?
And for example, in 2013, the subtle technology, there is it's a festival of Toronto called the Subtle Technology, a festival of theater science and new technology. Invite us to present a theater show and music of Glenn Gould, composer and pianist. But I know that in Canada, this part of theater and new technology is very strong. And I think that in USA, like and in Australia too, there are many connections between the academic part and the private part, the company, and there are many research. So I think that it's very interesting for both. Because it's possible to work and to work together and to create a different opportunity to work and to study and to research this discipline.
Yeah. Well, then one last question. I promise is the last one. And what about Europe? What was the best place for you to bring your project in Europe? Do you have any places that you really like to perform at all?
Well, I have a strong bond with Netherlands because I lived in Amsterdam. So for me, it was amazing to come to Rotterdam or Amsterdam. Every time I go there, I feel
We
really.
met there actually the first time. Yeah.
And I love Netherlands. But was also amazing. We performed in Portugal, and it was amazing. The human connection that we received was really, really nice.
And you, Nina, where in Europe did you like the most to bring your performance?
Okay, there is Ars Electronica, that is the most important festival, and so I think that it's a good opportunity. Many artists come from this festival, but I think that with the Creative Europe project or Erasmus Plus project, I think that there are very good opportunity to present our work in different pace in Europe. For example, last year we presented a project of theater science and new technology for children in Denmark. With an Erasmus Plus project with the Limfjord Theater, is a theater Danish company, and this year we know that we won the first awards for the innovation, for the didactic innovation, and I think that there are many different possibility to explore our work, and so it's good for us to connect with other artists and to present, to share our work.
Yes, totally agree. Well, thank you everyone for attending this super insightful conversation. We really went really deep about interaction, technology, opportunities in Europe, outside of Europe, and also the role of the audience, how theater, they need to adapt for performances. We really went really deep into the conversation. Thank you, Nina and Margherita, for joining us today. And thank you for all your experience and for bringing and fighting to bring new ideas and new opportunities in Europe and all around the world. Your work is amazing. Thank you for what you're doing. We will be organizing more LinkedIn events as Except for Europe, and also in partnership with Reality in Transition. So don't forget to follow Except for Europe and Reality in Transition on LinkedIn. The video will be available also on YouTube, and there will be more and more things to come. So follow us, and also follow Margherita and Cyberteatro and Nina Zedda for their work, and stay updated. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.